Haunted Christmas, Book 2 in the Reverend Paltoquet Supernatural Murder Mystery Series, written by Pat Herbert and narrated by Angus Freathy. Bergen, Norway, March 1948. The snow glistened white beneath the pale full moon. Any creature, be it human or animal, making its way through the wooded landscape would be silhouetted clearly against its rays, which was a disadvantage to one small lone figure that cold March night. The trees were sparse, and although they afforded some shelter, there were many gaps where hiding was impossible. But the figure the moon highlighted couldn't afford to be seen. Little Harle knew he had to keep running. This was the only chance he had of staying alive. His mother had told him this, and he knew she was right. His 10-year-old legs were strong, but they were weakening now. But if he stopped, he was dead. The man behind him had a gun. He had watched him pointed at his mother as she lay on the bed, her clothes in disarray. He had pushed little Halle out of the way as he made his way up the stairs to the boy's mother's bedroom. He knew his way, for he had been there many times before. And now the man was following him, pointing that same weapon at his back. He'd heard the explosion and felt the bullet whiz past his ear. The man was very close now. Then he saw the tall tree in front of him. Summoning up what was left of his strength, he began to climb up into the spindly branches. The man wouldn't see him there, he prayed. As he climbed, the man stopped directly beneath the same tree. Of course, thought little Halle, his footprints had stopped there too. The snow had given him away. The man knew just exactly where he was. He heard the fatal shot ring out as he tumbled out of the tree. The man was running away as little Halle's life's blood ebbed out of him, making a crimson river on the white snow. London, March 1948. Reverend Bernard Paltoquet was sitting in his new home in the London borough of Wandsworth, surrounded by all his worldly goods. Being a frugal man, they weren't many. He gazed about the cosy vicarage living-room where his housekeeper, a rotund body called Mrs. Harper, had just installed him. She had welcomed the new vicar of the St. Stephen's parish brusquely, but not unkindly. She was used to vicars, having served two before Bernard. The previous incumbent had recently died, in harness, as it were, in the pulpit. His heart had given out during one of his long-winded sermons. She'd surveyed the new vicar on his arrival with a critical eye. He was a lot younger than the last one, which was a blessing, even if he was a bit green about the gills. But knocking vicars into shape was something she was used to, and this young man would present no problems, she was sure. Bernard had already inspected his church just a few yards down the road, and had been dismayed by its dilapidation and air of neglect. Much needed doing to make it habitable. At least a half-ton of lead was missing from the roof, and several panes in the stained-glass windows had been broken. It was a daunting task for any vicar, but for Bernard, in his first incumbency, it seemed almost insurmountable. The early spring weather, being still frosty, didn't help matters. It made the interior very cold and unwelcoming, but at least the vicarage itself was warm. He toasted himself by the fire, wondering how he was going to afford all the improvements needed to entice the congregation to flock to his sermons. The chain in the toilet doesn't work unless you yank it. He was brought back to the present by this bald statement from Mrs. Harper, who was standing in the doorway with her hands on her ample hips. Another problem to worry about, but Bernard just smiled. "Never mind, Mrs. Harper, just call a plumber, please." Simple. "A plumber? Do you know how much they charge these days?" "Probably a lot," he hazarded. "You can say that again with knobs on. I'll ask my friend Ada to ask her hubby to come and have a look at it, if you like." "Is he a plumber?" "Not so's you'd notice." Then what good do you think he'll be?" She shrugged. "He's handy, and he's cheap." "I see. Well, whatever you think best, Mrs. Harper, thank you." Bernard was already bored with the vicarage's sanitary arrangements, or lack thereof, and just wanted to be left in peace. The difficulties with the lavatory chain were hardly his domain. No doubt this Ada's husband would be able to fix it. Mrs.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?